producers. It's Matt from Music Producer School. Thanks for joining me. It is Tuesday. I was talking about last week on our lessons about doing the vocals today for this song we've been working on, but I just came off playing 4 nights in a row, singing 4 nights in a row. So unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not going to be doing vocals today. We're just going to keep working on this song we've been working on. We'll get to that in just a minute. As always, be sure to join the Music Producer School community. The link is in the Facebook comments there, and also follow us on all of our other social platforms. Got a lot of good things in the works for you guys and girls, and our community continues to grow, so I appreciate that. And I've also enjoyed very much listening to your tracks over there in the community on Saturdays. So if you'd like for me to listen to your music, go join the Music Producer School community. It's free. And let's go ahead and get started with this lesson. Lots of things to do today. So we have been working on this song. This is the 7th day we have been working on it. So as always, I'm going to do a save live set as and call it All I Can Do Is Dance 7.1. And now we've got a fresh copy to work from in case we get too crazy today. So as always, I haven't listened to this since we worked on it Saturday. So let's just take a listen and see what we got.
One more day, feels like you threw my heart away. One last chance, you let it through, love slip through your hands. And ain't it sad when the tears start coming, falling down like rain? It's like a sickness, you broke me with the quickness of brand new kind of pain. And all I can do is dance. All I can do is dance. And yeah, yeah.
Alright, so I think we get the point there. It's coming along okay. Just definitely some stuff to work on here. The first thing that popped out at me here was on this build. We got this pad and this melody thing happening here, but then all of a sudden in the build, we're losing this high stuff right here. And then because this piano part on the build is very basic, I feel like we need something happening here. So what I would like to try is, let me see if I can find a string type of a drone that we can get going up high here. And I believe this is an instrument I made from an actual JV 2080. I think I used to have one. Yeah. See if I can find a high one. No, I just want a single one. So this first one sounds good. But I think I want to do it high. And this is just going to be like a drone. So again, A lot of this might be basic for some of the more advanced producers. What's up there? I can't read your name, my friend, but thanks for saying hi. Appreciate it. So we're gonna call this string drone. And this is going to be just a high string, one single note that we're going to drone on top this whole section here. And I want it to last the length of that. So it's just going to be something like this. Okay, so you notice that the string is running out here, but I want it to actually last this whole length here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to actually loop this section in here. So I'm going to turn this on to the classic sampling mode. And you can do this in different ways with Logic and FL Studio. Of course, I'm using Ableton here. But what I'm going to do is actually create a loop here. And I'm going to kind of get it to where the string is playing full force, and then I'm just going to loop that section, and let's see if we can get it to work correctly here. Okay, I hope that's making sense to how that works. So what it's saying is I'm going to play the sample from the beginning here, but then once we hit this blue part down here, it's going to just loop indefinitely. So however long my MIDI note lasts, that's how long it'll stay looping. And I'm not hearing any clicks or pops, so that's a nifty little trick. If you have a sample that you want to use as a very long sustained instrument, you can just loop the sample in most samplers like that. Now the other thing I want to do here is I want this to be higher pitched, but I can't change the pitch over here because it's gonna pick a new note on the drum rack. So I need to actually transpose it. In Ableton, you go into the controls here, and I'm gonna transpose it up 12. Let's see if that's high enough. Let me try 24. It might be a little too high, though. All right, so I like that. Now what I'm going to do is, oftentimes what I would do in the past is I would take something like a gain plugin and I would put it on here to automate the volume up in a ramp so that it's going to kind of just swoop in. But with a high sound like this, what I like to do sometimes is I'm actually just going to put a low pass filter on this. And I'm sorry, a high pass filter. And no, I'm right, a low pass filter, sorry. I'm only going to let the lows through at first, and we're going to keep letting more and more of the highs come in. So I'm going to I'm going to get the automation for this. And I'm going to try and get it to where I will just get some automation here and kind of swoop it in that way. But I want it to not start as low. Let's see. So it's just going to kind of creep in like that. And then let's also put a little bit of reverb on this at the end. right, cool. So that's just gonna add like a little bit of suspense there, and that's just the first thing I kind of noticed playing doing the playthrough there. I had mentioned in the previous class I wanted to redo these vocals today because I don't want to start adding a whole bunch of crazy stuff in here without really hearing the actual vocal, because I have some ideas for the vocal that I want to do, possibly even like some chops and stuff in the drop. But like I said previously, if you missed me talking at the beginning of the class today, I sang 4 nights in a row for a gig last week, and my voice is still kind of shot. So I'm not going to be able to record these vocals again today. So we're just going to find a couple more things that we can touch up today. And then hopefully when I come back on Thursday, my voice will be relatively recovered, and I can start trying to lay down the actual vocal on this thing. So let's see what else we can attack while we got this here. One thing I'm hearing is with these pianos, I think I want to go ahead and group these now. And I'm going to just call this my group keys. And I'm thinking we may need to work on this key group a little bit for the drop. And I believe what we had done before was we just copied this LFO tool to both of these tracks. So what I'm gonna try and do now is I'm gonna bring and copy the LFO tool to the main group, and then that way we can turn these off on the individual tracks, and that way we're all just hitting this same LFO tool at the group level. So that way, in other words, we don't have separate plugins happening on different channels. It's all going into this one LFO tool that's going to get everything to pump exactly together. That sounds a little bit better. Should be about the same, but let's throw an OTT on here to get this thing to brighten up a little bit. I'm just going to kind of sneak in a little here. So what I might do, let's try putting the OTT just on the high piano and see how that does for us. Yeah, and that's another little trick for you guys and girls out there. If you want to do something where you're going to try and brighten up a sound, as opposed to putting one of these, like they're called like exciter plugins on a whole group of channels, try just taking whatever your layer that is providing the high frequencies and just put your exciter on that, because that's really all we want to excite is just the high stuff anyway, and you run less chance of taking away power from things, because this OTT plugin, it compresses stuff a good bit. The highs, you want to kind of compress fairly hard because you don't want those to be popping out and hurting the ear of the listeners. So if you put that on all the pianos, it's going to start compressing that mid-range stuff that really gives a lot of weight to the sound. So that's something that you want to be constantly thinking about is, okay, I want to brighten this up, give it a little sparkle, but I don't want to take away from the meat of the sound. So we've got now this whole sound like this. So what I'll do now is I'll put a glue compressor on top of this whole thing. I'm going to hit this soft clip so that it'll kind of almost give it a light distortion, and now I'm just going to compress the whole thing. Okay, so the next thing I think we're going to do today, I like that. It kind of brings the piano out a little bit better. Listen one time without it.
All I can do is, all I can do is, all I can do is dance. All I can do is, all I can do is, all I can do is dance. Yeah, yeah. All I can do is, all I can do.
Yeah, I'm liking that. So another tip on this as well, like I just explained with the Exciter, OTT is what it's called in here in Ableton. But another trick is I'm hearing, okay, we have this big drop, right? I want to have a little bit more space on the piano, but I don't want to cloud the mix up with a bunch of reverb. So I want my reverb to actually hit into that LFO tool so that the reverb sucks in and out. But I don't want to put that on both of the pianos because, again, we're going to start building up these frequencies with reverb, and our mix is not going to be as clean and separated. So another trick, kind of like what I just showed you with the Exciter on the high plugin, the highs are typically what's going to catch the listener's ear as far as when it hits a reverb and they hear the piano in this space, right? So instead of putting a reverb across that whole group channel for my keys, the same thing applies. I'm going to just put some reverb on this high key channel and only hit the reverb with that. So let's see if we can maybe get some reverb going here. I'm going to solo this piano, which is my high piano. And now I just up the effects here, but let's go and see what actual effects we got going on. We've got a Hall. So my reverb is this FX2 down here. I want to make my reverb length a little bit longer. And then you can see over here, my overall effects 2 is down pretty low. Now I'm hearing it. Let's try that. So again, the cool thing about that, I'm not sure how well you can hear that on whatever you're listening to, is we're getting the space from the high keys, but we're still getting the power from that low end, the regular M1 piano. So we're retaining the power, but we're also getting a little sense of space now. What's up, K-Banks? Justin, you have Afro Trap? I mean, you can go with it. This is what I'm working on. So now that we did those operations on the high piano, the only thing I'm hearing is, especially with the reverb, I boosted a little on this high EQ. I think that's getting a little bit too much, so we're going to bring that down, and I think we should be good for that. Now, another thing I wanted to experiment with today is let's take a quick look at the drums here. I feel like we need... The hi-hats are starting to come in on the second half right here, but I feel like we might be able to start throwing in some percussion as well. So, like I had mentioned in the previous class, I have my drum rack with all percussion. And I have about 11 drum racks worth of percussion. But I'm going to try and just throw something in here kind of arbitrarily and see if we can get a little percussion groove coming here. So let's see what we have in this rack. So this is where you can start getting a little creative with when you're writing percussion stuff. You can stay off grid if you want to give it a little bit of a groove. I'm on the grid right now, but let's see what this sounds like. See, it's almost kind of accenting that that I already have in there. So let's see if maybe we can move this over. Kind of liking this click here. And then again, I'm gonna play with my velocities here to get a little human feel going. And then I can start, I'm gonna turn my grid off now and just start moving these around a little bit arbitrarily, just to get a little bit more of a groove going here. Don't be afraid to take your stuff off the grid every once in a while, especially percussion. So now I'll turn my grid back on, copy this over, and then let's just try scooting this over a little bit this way. Let's see what that sounds like when we throw it in the rest of the way with our drums. So I actually want to start this percussion over here with the hi-hat. So let's see how that all works together. This one I'm not feeling so much. So I'm going to loop this section here. And that way the same thing will play through as I start adjusting these. Yeah, that's not too bad, actually. Let's just bring that out. Let's see what it sounds like with our vocal now.
All I can do is dance. Yeah, yeah. All I can do is, all I can do is, all I can do is dance. All I can do is, all I can do is, all I can do is dance. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not really feeling that anymore. That's how you got to do this stuff too. Just go with it. If it doesn't work, try something else. Got some crazy stuff going on in this one. I have an idea of what I want. It's called a clave, I believe. Yeah, that thing. Yeah, okay, so let's do that. Let's get us a fresh drum rack here. I'm gonna just throw a blank one because that's really the sound that I kind of want. And then let's throw in some of these claves. That one. And this one. Try that one as well. And that one. And let's see if we can get something going with this now. So look, another thing, this is kind of jumping off of what I had showed in one of the previous lessons as well. So you see how we're looking here, and this is also another reason why I like to put stuff like this in audio. You see how I can kind of see just visually where I have space for things. So like right here, for example, I have a space here, here. We can kind of see where there's nothing going on. So that's kind of nice because it's going to allow me to start off in a little bit of an easier spot. So you can see up there, I can now move this, and you see how it kind of jumps around with that space, right? And again, if you get a little too overwhelmed, just loop one bar of this. And then just copy over. Let's find us another little slot we can put something in here. Kind of liking this wooden one. Yeah, just something like that. It doesn't have to be anything super complicated. We don't want to get crazy with this stuff and start overwhelming the listener with sounds, but just something in there to give us a little bit more of a groove than what we had going on. So again, I'm going to throw a little reverb on this, give it a little space. So I'm listening now. I'm not really hearing this last note right here. So let's see if we can find something to do with this last note so that it makes sense. There we go. Now we're getting a little groove going. I like that. Actually, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to just take out this first one as well, which will get rid of all the other ones in that same spot, and then we'll just have a very simple groove. Gonna keep that going the whole way through. So now while we're working on the drums, let's throw this EQ8 on these hi-hats, and we're gonna start kind of carving a little space here for everything, because again, we're getting up to, we're starting to build up some channels here. So I don't want to just keep adding things without taking something away, right? So these hi-hats, for example, you can see on my EQ here how they're taking up space in all of the frequencies, right? So like down here, for example, this is all the way down to 30 something hertz. So this is where you start losing power when you just start adding samples and samples, but you don't take anything away. So my kick needs to fit somewhere down here in the lows. My bass needs to fit somewhere. So there's really not a lot of reason why we need to have these hats all the way down here. So you see right there, I just knocked out about 400 something hertz and below, and it's not really affecting my overall sound at all. Not anything super noticeable, but now we've just cleared some space for our kick and our bass. So I actually just moved that up to about 540.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All I can do is, all I can do is, all I.
So same thing on our percussion track here. Let's take a look at that and see what that's got going on in the frequencies. Must not have thrown it on there. Sorry. So let's take a look here. So this is another good example. Watch when that low clave hits and watch where the frequencies are. You see how right about here, again, around 450 hertz. So I don't need anything below that to be muddying up my mix. So I'm going to cut all the way down to there. And again, I'm clearing space now. And I'm not really getting into mixing yet. This is not what I would consider mixing. I'm just cleaning up these sounds. Let's take a look at our snare. Because what I hate is when I get to mixing and it's just like a complete pain in the butt to do all of this because you're not really cleaning. You're trying to just fix everything at this point. So same thing with my snare. I don't need frequencies all the way down here. Now for this one, I am hearing some weight in that 100-ish hertz range. So I don't want to cut much past this and lose the weight of my snare. But I definitely don't need all the stuff below it. Because again, this is where you're going to start getting your separation with your kick and your bass. Yeah, I mean, you see all this energy down here in the super low stuff. And we just really don't need that. Let's check our claps. And this is kind of more what I would call administrative stuff. It's not really fun or sexy to do, but if you don't do this now, you're going to be wondering why your mix isn't clean later on. So it's better to just kind of start cleaning things up now. So let's listen now to our claps. So this one, for example, you can see here, let me see if I can turn this refresh. You can see how all the main energy is up here around 500 hertz and above, and there is some stuff in the lows. But not very much. It really doesn't really start getting prominent until about 400 hertz. So again, I'm going to just cut 400 and below. Because that's really, we're combining that with the snare drum. And when we put them together, we should have a lot of weight from the snare in the lows. And then the claps on the high end is going to give it that sparkle. All right, I'm liking that. So now with our vocal percussion, same idea. Throw our EQ on there and check that out. So what I'm doing here is I'm just listening. I'm not really even so much looking at the spectrum. I'm just listening and saying, okay, I know what the function of this is. I know how it's kind of feeling with the groove. I just don't want to lose that. And I can also just see as well, if I do look at the spectrum, all the main energy is right here around 500 and then double that around 1.2K. So again, all this is just helping clear space for our bass and our kick eventually when we get it in there. Because for this type of song, that's going to be super important. So let's listen now to our other vocal percussion. Same deal. I don't really need any of this down here. So it doesn't seem like much if you're not used to doing this process, but what you got to understand is I just eliminated what, like 5 or 6 different tracks worth of 500 hertz and below. So this is another key thing where a lot of people are trying to learn how to do mastering, and they have trouble getting their tracks loud enough as what you hear, on the radio or your favorite DJs. And the problem is, if you don't address all these super low frequencies, the low frequencies is what takes up all your energy. So that's going to kind of limit how much volume you can push out of your track. So again, today, since I couldn't really work on the vocals, I figured, well, we're getting closer to wrapping this song up, so I might as well start doing some of these what I call administrative duties, where it's not really super creative or fun, but we do this so that when we do get to the mixing stage, when I get to the mixing stage, basically what I'm trying to focus on mostly is I'm only trying to focus on levels. Like I'm really just trying to make it to where, like on the old school analog mixers, all you're having to do is push the faders a little bit up or down, maybe a little EQ here and there, but I'm really trying to start shaping all of these sounds now. So let's see what that all sounds like together. Let's just solo our kick and our bass. I'm sorry, my drums and my bass. I think I can maybe get just a touch more presence or treble out of my bass. Let's bump that a little bit. So this high piano, I put all this OTT, and this is another good lesson for all you beginner producers. When you're working on a sound, that sound becomes the most important thing in the world to you because you're focusing on it, right? So that piano, when we started, that's what I was focusing on. And I said, I want to get this shimmer on the high piano, which is fine. But I threw this OTT on here, and I got this thing cranked up to about 43%. And now that we've gone away from the piano and we're coming back and listening to everything, I'm like, man, that's way too much of that high end on that thing. So I'm going to back this off a little bit now that I'm listening in context. I'm going to basically cut it in half to about 20. And let's see what that sounds like now. Sweet. Now what I think I may do also, because those highs in that piano seem like they're really still poking out, I'm going to put a compressor at the end of this thing. Again, I'm going to turn my soft clip on and I'm going to just compress it, not a lot, but just to kind of tame those highs from poking out so much. Something like that, just like 3 or 4 dB reduction. Alright, cool. I think that's sounding pretty good now. Again, I don't want to go too far with this because I have some plans to do some cool stuff with the vocals, but until I get the real vocals in there, I'm not going to be able to do that, obviously. So what I may also start doing if I can't do vocals Thursday, is we're gonna start putting in some of the effects on this thing and really kind of start arranging it and getting the whole thing laid out. Let's listen. Let's listen to this drop one more time and just get a sense of where we are. So I would say the final thing I want to do today is, right now we've got this thing. It's kind of sounding like a funky house, almost new disco-y type of a thing, which is cool. I like it. That's kind of was the plan for it. But since we're just about wrapped up today anyway, what I want to do here is I'm going to duplicate this bass. And I'm going to call it bass 2. And I'm actually going to duplicate it again because I have a couple quick ideas I want to try here. I'm going to call this guitar. So my guitars I like to do in green. So I'm going to mute that second bass first. Let's solo our guitar, and I'm going to go into Kontakt here, and I believe I have, or I thought I had anyway, some guitar plugins here. Let me see if I do. If not, clean rhythm funk guitar. Let's see if we could replace this. Get rid of this Kontakt. So we have an amp built into that, to this rack. So I thought I might have had a guitar plug-in that I could kind of cheat with here. No, let's see. Okay, well, we'll come back to the guitar. I thought I had a guitar in here. I just upgraded my Ableton, so I might have lost it in that. So what I wanted to do, though, now is I wanted to try and... I'm going to get rid of this amp. And I'm going to switch Kontakt out with a Serum plugin here. And this is just kind of a quick little experiment I want to do. And see, okay, right now where we're at, it's pretty cool. It's like a funk house kind of thing with that real sounding bass. But what if we wanted to change it to more of like a future bass type of a thing? So let's see if we can find something like that just to kind of experiment here. Now these are like weirder kind of basses, but again, you wanna always be sure to experiment a little bit and see, you know, if you're finding something that maybe maybe does sound a little bit cooler than just what we had. It might not, but it doesn't hurt to experiment. That's not terrible. Let's try a couple more. That's kind of cool. Let's see if we kind of beef that up a little bit, if it does anything cool for us. So I can take the sub on or off. What if we maybe layer these? So yeah, I kind of like that actually. It's interesting because it's not definitely there yet, but adding that layer of that sound is maybe the thing that I needed to kind of take this from like a little too old school sounding to just giving it that just little touch of modern kind of flair, for lack of a better way to describe it. So I'm actually kind of digging that. I wasn't really sure if any of that would work out. But in this case, I'm kind of liking the idea of it. It's definitely not the sound yet, but this is something that now, that's another final little tip for you guys and girls out there that are watching this. What I like to do a lot of the times is before I call it quits on a session, I like to kind of do these little experiments to where I'm not really wanting to sit here for, another hour and just toy around with a sound or whatever, because I've already now been working on the track. It's been almost an hour, if you can believe that. But what I like to do is leave myself these little, almost I think of them as like clues. It's like, okay, I like this. It's not right just yet, but I'm going to leave myself this clue for the next time when I come work on the track. So that way when we come back and work on this Thursday, it's going to be like, oh yeah, I remember I left that there. My ears were kind of, worn out from already working for an hour on the track. But now that my ears are fresh and I'm hearing this, I know exactly what I need to do. I need to EQ this or compress this or, shape the sound a certain way to get it all to fit and become the sound. So I'm going to leave that for a little clue for me for next time. And hopefully, like I said, also the next class we come back, I'll be able to sing again. And I'm going to show y'all how I do these vocals for real. So thanks again, you guys, for joining me. I hope some of this is helping y'all out. Just seeing the way that another person does their tracks. This is not the end-all, be-all way to do it, but I'm just trying to give you tips as I go along. And I hope it was helpful. So we're going to keep working on this thing and get it all the way to completion. So y'all stick around for more to come. Once again, be sure to join the Music Producer School community. The link is in the comments. And I will see y'all again on Thursday, and we'll pick up where we left off. Y'all have a great day. Peace out.